Do you guys know if there's like a variation of ADD where like you can focus on stuff but never on the stuff that you want to focus on? Because in the month of June, my plan was to focus on reading this book and making a lot of videos, and instead I focused on reading a 650-page book about Saturday Night Live and watching every single episode of the show Teen Wolf. So today we'll be talking about Mansfield Park by Jane Austen as part of the Austen Adventures. For more information about the Austen Adventures and to see everybody else's reviews, there will be links down in the box. Let's go ahead and start with a summary. So Fanny Price is a poor young waif, but as it turns out, she's got herself some rich-ass relations. And these rich-ass relations are like, oh man, sucks to be the Prices. You know what we should do? We should take in Fanny, educate her, give her a leg up in life. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, we are so altruistic and awesome. Check us out. And so they bring her to live with them at their home, Mansfield Park, but they're kind of douchebags, so like they give her a place to live and provide for her financially, but they always treat her like she's kind of a burden, except for her cousin Edmund, who is like actually nice to her and befriends her and such, so naturally she falls like 100% in love with him. But the thing about Fanny is that she's, you know, shy and reserved and kind of passive, so she doesn't actually do anything to indicate her feelings. She mostly just pines from afar and probably writes some sad poems in her live journal about it. Okay, so one day a brother and sister, Henry and Mary Crawford, move into the area, and Mary immediately sets her sights on Edmund, and Henry is kind of a cad, so he immediately sets his sights on everyone, including both of Fanny's female cousins, one of whom is already engaged to someone else, and later on Fanny herself. So there's basically just like a giant love dodecahedron happening, and the plot of the novel is basically them trying to sort it out and get everybody married off to the right people. So this is kind of a hard one for me to review because I'm of two minds about it. Because the thing is, I appreciated it on an intellectual level, but I didn't really enjoy reading it all that much. And there's a part of me that's like, well, if I didn't enjoy it, I didn't enjoy it, that's fine. But there's also a part of me that kind of feels like I'm projecting modern values onto it, and I don't feel like that's really fair. This right here, this is why I never give star ratings to books during reviews. I think ultimately my opinion is, yeah, you should probably read this because even a less great Jane Austen is still pretty great, and the prose is delightful as always, and it has a lot of interesting things to say, and I appreciate how dark it ended up getting. And also, you should form your own opinions of things and not just blindly go along with everything that I tell you. So I think what I'm gonna do is just break down the 3 major roadblocks I had to enjoying this novel. Yep. Let's do that. Number 1, Jane Austen has a real talent for writing characters who are just viscerally awful, which can make Mansfield Park somewhat trying to read, because in this case, that is literally almost everyone. For real, everyone except Fanny and Edmund is such a dick. Admittedly, several of the characters do become less dickish as the novel progresses, but generally it feels like you're reading a novel where every character is Caroline Bingley. And even Fanny and Edmund, who are both like nice and fairly sympathetic, are still such wet blankets, which leads us into point number 2. Number 2. These morals are ridiculous by modern standards. So the most prominent theme of Mansfield Park is probably morality, which, yeah, fair enough. Totally something that's worth exploring. And I mean, Jane Austen was the daughter of a clergyman, so it's not that surprising that it would come up. The thing is, when you read classics and other older works of literature, particularly stuff like Austen's that centers around manners, sometimes you're like, oh man, why do we not still hold ourselves to this standard of politeness? And other times you're like, holy shit, I'm so glad I live in the future. This is the second one. Like, the major conflict of the first half of the book is that everyone except for Fanny and Edmund want to put on a play. And everyone's wandering around like, aha, what a lark, such fun. And Fanny and Edmund are going, no, it is wildly inappropriate. And I'm just like, nah. And this is the part where I feel like I'm unfairly projecting modern values onto this work. Because, like, in the context of what's happening and the time when this was written, I totally understand why I should be on Fanny and Edmund's side here, but still, I'm just like, I don't think that it makes it bad, it just makes it feel slightly less timeless than Austen's other work, you know? I don't know. Next point. And finally, number 3, Fanny doesn't really have a character arc the way that other Austen heroines do. One thing I really love about Jane Austen is that her stories aren't just love stories, they're also all about the character growth of her heroines. And I just didn't get that here. And I realize that this story is much more about, like, staying the course and being true to your convictions, but it ultimately made Fanny kind of a static character. And also she just never is very proactive. Like, stuff just kind of happens to her and like it all works out in the end. Like with Fanny as the main character, the moral of this novel appears to be, hey, if you're a good person and you just sit around and wait, eventually a lot of awesome stuff will happen to you. And I just fundamentally disagree with that as a life philosophy, so yeah. So I feel like ultimately this has ended up being my least favorite of the Austens that I read, but I think it's still good, and I totally get why other people might like it. If you have also read it, let me know what you think about it in the comments, and I will see you soon. Bye.